Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We have Bitcoin at 118,941, kind of recovering from a bit of a drop that we have had in the past couple of days. I did not stream yesterday, so we're going to cover the stuff that happened from then until today. Mainly, it's just economic data. We got consumer price index and producer price index that will help us measure inflation and determine whether or not it's appropriate to cut rates, depending on what's going on with the United States economy and its tariffs. That's the main fear that the Federal Reserve seems to be having, you know, this ongoing battle between Donald Trump, the president of the United States, against Jerome Powell, the president of the Federal Reserve, on whether or not they should reduce interest rates. So we'll talk a bit more about that. We also have Crypto Week currently active as of right now, this whole week mainly, where the United States is supposed to pass these regulations, sign these bills, pass it through the House, etc. It's a bit of a it started off a bit on a shaky start. Is that right? But it seems like Trump is getting things under control, so I hope that as well. I entered a position in Sonic. I will also be talking about that. You can see how well it's doing by now. This is just one of the many kinds of positions that I do typically have. I had a new milestone personally for my account, which I'm really proud of. I won't not get into that. That's my personal private stuff. But anyway, we have a good healthy uptrend still maintained there. 122,000, 123,000 actually is our all-time high and resistance level that was predetermined by me based off of fib extension levels that I have drawn many times in the past. You want to review how I did it over the other streams. But in the 4-hour chart is where I'm most comfortable with looking at how we are currently kind of within this range, right? I also determined our support level would be around 115,000, which is precisely the low point that we saw right over here. We hit 115,731. That happened yesterday, 15th of July. We'll discuss in more detail the fundamentals as to why that happened. And in terms of technical analysis, yeah, we're just within this kind of zone right over here. We could oscillate around here. We're kind of comfortable in this area, which is a good thing because, I mean, you don't got to be an expert. You just go to weekly chart and you'll see how well we have been performing, right? And we're kind of stuck, you could say, but at the top. I wouldn't even say stuck. Like, this is just a couple days worth of us staying within this little zone range, whatever you want to call it. We're approaching, though, an uptrend line, which even a pivot support level right over here at 115,000 should help us determine that, yes, indeed, that this should continue moving higher. And if not, of course, we'll go lower. Brain dead answer, but you get the point. Super trend would fit bearish if we do break this uptrend specifically. Where can we find another support level? It's likely going to be at around 110,000, maybe even 111. I don't know, you got a lot of levels over here, honestly. But lower than 110, I would not see Bitcoin for the time being, if that is the case, indeed. I mean, this could... You're probably seeing a head and shoulders pattern, unless I'm crazy, right? I think I could draw one, actually, on one of these. It's probably got to be here, patterns, head and shoulders. You got this, the low point, the head, whatever, and then the right shoulder. Who knows? Maybe this could be happening, right? Not exactly perfect, but you kind of get the point, right? That's a bad pattern because what that would indicate is this is our support level at whatever this level is, 116,000. If we drop down over here again, we're likely going to break through downward. Whether we get some support on this uptrend to bounce back, that would be the optimal case. If that does not happen, of course, we will break this downtrend and continue further down until we reach a support level. One of these three lines, right? That was terrible drawing. This line, or this line. To know specifically, like you would ideally draw a Fibonacci line from low point from down there till our all-time high level to determine specifically where those lines exactly would be. I'm sure it'll determine something around here. Like taking this low. I'll draw it right now, actually. You just got to give, yourself the scenario as if this was the top. I clicked the wrong button, of course. I meant to do this. That is the all-time high. And what is our lines? It's looking like, yeah, this line 110,500. So it's likely going to be this center line. Back to my little explanation. I just deleted the wrong super trend. I mean, Fibonacci. Ignore this. It's likely this line that we're going to flow down to if things do play out according to plan this week specifically, right? And then from here, we could see a drop. Worst case scenario, of course, we've got this last uptrend that we have been maintaining for a while. Is this the longest one? No, it's not. We have another one down over here, of course, but this is the bull cycle defining one, which we do not want to touch at all ever again, because last time we did, we were at 74,000, and that was not pretty back in April. But, you know, from here we got a couple scenarios that could play out. I still believe bull market is still in play, and likeliest scenario is, sure, if we do see a drop, I'll accept it. I still feel like I don't want prices to go up because I took a lot of profits already from altcoins mainly. Bitcoin, I already took my profits way too early. Once again, it's happened twice. On the first rise, when we were stuck between 50, 60,000, I took profits at 70,000 and we rose to 110,000 immediately after, which was unfortunate, but it's whatever. I re-entered at around 80,000, 70,000, and then we rose back to 112,000, but then we dropped to 99,000 due to World War III fears. I fell for it, and I sold at 99k. And now look where we are, 119,000. So, you know, you shouldn't really panic sell. I mean, I wasn't losing or anything, like it was fine. Still made a couple of profit on it, but not as much as I could have made if I just held on to it for a while longer. But hey, you never know. It just seemed like the world was about to end, in my opinion. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take a couple thousand and run with it to the grave. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, really. But anyways, my likely scenario is that something like this will play out where we have to kind of accumulate some more liquidity in this zone before we can start taking off forward once again toward the top side. And from there, my next target personally is 135,000 right up here. Will this directly happen? Of course not. There's going to be bumps along the way. Maybe we rise a lot, maybe we drop a lot, but you know, ultimately we should be following this uptrend, I would hope, until I don't know what happens over here. That's for you to decide. But that is my current projection, if you really want to know. I want to review this Sonic position that I entered. Wow, what a beautiful position. Okay, so I entered at where this pivot level is practically as my entry price right over here. I entered with 1,000 at 3x. Usually my typical entries are like that. 3x is, in my opinion, the safest way to enter. We hit a high of 39 cents with it today. I entered at 34. That is so far a 9% return. Multiply that by 3, you got a 31% return. That's 9.90, I think. So, pretty good entry. Making 311 off of that. I could take profits from this. Like, this is what this specific account is for. Just short-term trading and... yeah. I don't know. I really do want to accumulate Sonic, though. And I felt like it was dirt cheap. And the fundamentals of it are very, very strong. Maybe it's not as attractive yet, but that's the reason why it is where it is. Because not a lot of people are using it. Maybe not a lot of people really remember Phantom or know about it. They forget this rebrand that happened. Maybe it's not listed on all exchanges yet. I know it took a while for BingX to incorporate it. I mean, according to me at least, I've been constantly searching for it until just recently when I found out, hey, that it's finally been listed on here. I could finally trade it. But I mean, it still kept the same price. And if you look at Phantom, the old version of this, which was not as strong and probably a little more popular at the time, sure, we'll give you that, because of its popularity, reached a high of $1.20. Right now you have this exact same project, but better, at 38 cents. Why not love it more? It doesn't have the attention it deserves. 400,000 transactions per second. Compare that to Sui that does 200 transactions per second. Compare that to Solana that does 90,000 transactions per second. On average, I think. And I could be getting my numbers wrong. Feel free to fact check me. But I mean, I feel like this project is where it's at. It should be like soon. And it has had its pump before. Back in May, right? It even reached a high of 62. That's not bad at all. It only had this drop over here because of, June 22nd fear, whatever that was. Likely World War III fears. But I mean, since then we've been recovering. We have an uptrend that is still very strong. Super trend is following that uptrend line that I have drawn. 31.95 is in validation zone. It's still spiking upwards due to the current price of this also spiking upwards. Up 6% today. That's nothing to sneeze at either. Pretty good. So I'm proud of this position. I don't know. I'm scared to sell it. Those are the two. I was studying this today. Those are the two worst things a trader can experience is like, sure, fear and greed. That's why we do have that index to help you determine to make decisions. But it is just something that we have to deal with, right? Oh, fear that the prices are dropping so much and I don't know what to do. I'm going to get liquidated and, you'll lose everything. Or the opposite would be, of course, greed, where it's like, oh, I have this great position. I've made a lot of gains. I want to gain more. It's a weird thing to experience. I did have a down channel that I kind of drew over here, kind of breaking out of that, of course. I do expect a drop, right? Not everything can go up forever, to maybe 37, but then from there, hopefully we will continue to rise. Something like that is what I'm expecting with it. So I'll keep my projection there where it is. I'm not going to touch it. We'll leave Phantom right there. Might regret this. Who knows? We'll see. Let's move on to the tokens that we usually analyze. Ethereum, by the way, top performer of the day. We got to give it that. Up 8% today, 3,389. It did reach 3,422, which is a new high that we have not seen in a couple of months, which is great for Ethereum. I'm glad to see this kind of growth on it. Last time we saw this level was January. Literally January. That is so far away. And, I mean, myself and many other people, seeing how Ethereum was able to reach 4,000 in the past, in December 2024, we thought, hey, with whatever drop that we get with Ethereum, we're going to continue rising. But that was indeed not the case. Matter of fact, if you entered anywhere here, anywhere above $3,000, even with the 3x leverage that I recommend, well, I don't recommend, but you get the point, the one that I'm most comfortable with using, you're going to get liquidated. Yes or yes. Everybody got liquidated. A drop all the way to 1,384. Yeah, that hurts. And a lot of people got liquidated. On top of that, many people are shorting Ethereum. We're shorting Ethereum, I should say. I have some news on that, by the way. And, I mean, since then, the recent recovery that we've been seeing the past couple of weeks for Ethereum has been really great, really strong. We are approaching a resistance, major one, at 3,500. We did slow down at 3,422, probably just to take a breather. We're still close to it, 3,391. That's not too far off. It's just a matter of time before we reach that 3,500 resistance. This is based off Fibonacci resistance levels that we can see. After that, of course, is breaking the all-time downtrend, and then not necessarily an all-time high, but, the highest point that we reached in December from this cycle. Keep in mind, last cycle, so 4 years ago, Ethereum was with worse fundamentals and a higher, still had a higher market cap and higher price, reaching 4,865 as its all-time high level, almost $5,000 for Ethereum. And right now, a lot of projections are pushing this thing, and I don't want to exaggerate, but this is what they're saying, the analysts, 7,000, 10,000 Ethereum. So the potential is there. I will agree with that. If Bitcoin is able to make all these new all-time highs with, an increasing market cap all the time, there's more attraction coming in. Ethereum has their ETFs now. They have staking coming out soon with their ETFs. And, I mean, I've been doing a bit of research as well on Ethereum. They're becoming a bit more deflationary with their new policies and, the Ethereum Foundation also working hard to push the price as much as they can in their power to push it all the way up to that $10,000 goal. So we'll see if that does happen this cycle. I think it will be a super cycle. I showed you guys in the previous stream the cycle tops resistance uptrend line, whatever you want to call that, which I feel like shouldn't exist in the first place, but something that people use in the past to indicate market cycle tops. It's been broken. We broke out of that majorly. We thought 112,000 would be the high. That was our double top for the cycle, and we'd continue dropping from there. It didn't happen with Bitcoin. Bitcoin just ripped through that. We're now at about 120,000. So I think it's just up from here. Honestly, it's going to be a super cycle. Solana also top performer today. Very great day that it had. I will go back to a 4-hour chart here and zoom in a little more. We broke out of a resistance level of the 170, which was great. Huge. Got a candle over here of 3.39%, pushing us all the way up to $175.95. We kind of came back down from there a little bit. We're at $173.19, but the uptrend is still there, as you can see. And as I just accidentally moved, just readjusted over here. No big deal. The uptrend is still there. Super trend is spiking up as well and validates at 155. Probably going to approach, I'm assuming, this line. I'd probably ignore that as much as I can. Likely at 160 is where super trend should be invalidating itself. If Solana does drop all the way down there, we're looking at a 7% drop. If that does happen, I don't think it will. It could happen. Maybe a 4% drop from corrections. We do see these kinds of corrections in the past, right? 5% correction, another 5% correction. You could see something similar right over here, and we'd still be in an uptrend. So it's like no big deal. It's just normal price fluctuation movements as Solana kind of makes its waves upwards. So, I mean, Solana does deserve to be much higher than where it currently is right now as well. Sure, you got Ethereum sort of making a comeback, and it is necessary for Ethereum to make this comeback in order for, you know, the interest of institutions to start moving on from Bitcoin into the altcoins. It's necessary for Ethereum to make a big move to grab their attention, I would say. And then, of course, after Ethereum's made its moves, people will start looking at the rest. Snowball effect kind of deal. So it's all just a matter of waiting. XRP above $3. Really, really happy to see that. $3.10 was its high of today. We're currently at $3.06. It's not too bad. It's also a great resistance, psychological resistance that we broke out of. So that's really important. I have pivot resistance at 312. I guess we kind of slowed down near that, 2 cents off of it. No big deal. Next resistance you should watch out for is at 340. But in terms of a drop, where can we really drop to? 270. We'd still be in an uptrend for XRP. Really even lower, but that would flip the super trend negative, and it's probably not something likely to happen, right? I mean, to reach the super trend, that's an 11% drop for XRP. We could see that if we get some devastating news, and that can happen, by the way, this week because of crypto week and whatever's going on with it. And I mean, to really achieve this, hitting this uptrend that we have drawn, that's another 17% drop, and we'd still be in an uptrend, ideally. Drawdowns can happen. Sometimes they are necessary, so don't be scared if it does. That's all I'm just going to warn you about. Now to enter, like for long positions, I would not do that. Sure, you're going with the trend, but I feel like the momentum is starting to die out. You'll notice on the relative strength index, we're at 68. We're almost at 70. 70 is considered overbought, and price is likely to start dropping further. Matter of fact, we did hit 70.48 with these candles over here at 12 o'clock noon, in the afternoon mainly. So I'd watch out with entering any positions here. I wouldn't really do it. SUI actually dropped today 2.26%. It seems like a lot, but it really isn't. We're really hovering around the $4 zone, psychological resistance as well for SUI. I've compared SUI to XRP in the past. Both of them were at the same price, and SUI has completely outperformed XRP, right? They both started at 204 when I once compared them, and then SUI immediately rose to, what was the high, like $3.70? Probably gonna have to go to a daily chart if I want to determine this. Was it over here? It was over here. I remember this, yeah. So it was around 204, 15th of April. And then it shot up like this. I'm like, wow, SUI is just absolutely outperforming it. Actually reached a high of 429. From there it dropped, and then we were already on our way back up. Like, it's no big deal. XRP, on the other hand, was struggling to get past 230. Also starting off at 204, right? 12th of April. 15th of April, I think I mentioned, $2.07, around the exact same price like I mentioned. So it did hit a high of 264, and I mean, from there came back down, struggled to get past 230 for the longest time ever, just until recently. We are now finally at 304. But even then, still confirm where those two are at, those two assets. SUI is at $4 practically. And get out of here. XRP is at $3, basically. So you can see which one's the better performer. I do think, though, for long term, XRP will, of course, be better. It has a limited supply. It's likely to get more adopted by the institutions. Of course, that is important. But SUI is just like a better alternative to something like Solana or Ethereum, right? That's the difference between these two. And SUI can be inflationary, although, I mean, I don't know what their tokenomics is, but it's been performing really well. Every time it's got these large percentage movements, right? So it's great for trading. And I mean, short term for this cycle specifically, I do feel like SUI will be one of the few that will skyrocket significantly because it's just got so much more to grow. Moving on, Cardano. Cardano does deserve some more too, but it's just been struggling, I guess, with its price. It still had a good move today. 75 cents is where it's at. We actually hit a high of 78 cents. We're almost at the 80-cent mark, but that is a level that I do have marked as a resistance to 78 cents. So it makes sense why we slowed down over there. Might range around this area between 72 to 78 before we, accumulate enough liquidity to start pushing forward once again. The downtrend, however, is broken, so that is a good thing. And uptrend still prevails, of course. Supertrend is spiking up. It's at 66 in validation. Makes sense. Litecoin is $97.13. We did not hit 100. That is unfortunate, but hey, it still had a good attempt today. $99.95. It is really trying to hit that $100 resistance, also psychological zone. But looks like we're also going to... I've come to the conclusion that okay, how do I explain this? I've come to the same conclusion for every coin that I've analyzed today. And it is that we are dropping a little bit just to gather a bit more liquidity, right? Accumulate more for the next leg up. The uptrend still exists, right? I've shown that on all of these coins. There's no real reason why we should be dropping. And even if we do drop, the uptrend will still maintain itself. It's still there, right? So it's just looking like these are just normal price fluctuations before we start moving upward once again. What is tomorrow? Is Thursday? Yeah, we still got time. Today's Wednesday. All right, cool. So yeah, overall a bullish outlook from my end. There you go. There's your technical analysis. Spent 22 minutes on that. Let's talk a bit about the news that we got to cover today. So, of course, forget everything about technical analysis. Forget anything you studied about charts, any patterns, stuff like that. You put all that stuff away. I was talking about this with a friend of mine. All you really got to do is just download Truth Social or just watch the news and see what this guy over here says. Donald Trump, he is the one that does move the market. He says he goes on TV, makes the markets go wild. You can move it just by talking. And that is true. Like, you don't got to be an expert to figure that out. He says, guys, now's a great time to buy. People obeyed and bought. Not everybody, though. And then a couple hours later, he announces, of course, something very bullish like tariffs paused. And then markets skyrocket. Or he announces the tariffs and the markets drop, right? That's something that's been happening in the past couple of months. I was there to experience it all. Whether that's fortunately or unfortunately. I'd say fortunately because in the end, sure, I lost a lot of money, but I recovered that lost money and more. That's why you'd have to take advantage of those dips. Anyways, we got CPI data. Consumer prices, they ended up being low. Bring down the Fed rate now is what he is calling for. And then today we got the PPI, Producer Price Index. Jerome Powell less than a month ago said that he was refusing to cut interest rates because everyone he knows is forecasting a meaningful increase in inflation from the tariffs, which has been this ongoing thing that he's always been saying. We're tired of hearing it. And I mean, the core CPI just beat the expectations for the 5th month in a row. The June monthly change in PPI was 0%, meaning that inflation is practically not there, right? So, come on. Either the corporations also, by the way, they do have to start lowering their own prices, and the Fed also should start reducing their interest rate. you know, it's necessary and people are outraged. Trump is mainly outraged. And there's always these talks where Trump is likely going to fire Jerome Powell soon, right? The Fed chair. I need to turn on my fan. I'm sweating. Hold on. It's really hot. All right. I mean, it's summertime. You can't blame me. And I am sweating, though. All right. The statement brings up many questions ranging from legality to its implication on markets. We already went through this many times before, and I've had a lot of streams covering this as to why Trump wants to fire Powell. Although Trump, maybe he's forgotten that he appointed Powell in the first place. He's now saying stuff like, oh, it's crazy that this guy got appointed and, you know, something Biden. He's blaming Biden, I guess, for appointing Jerome Powell, which Donald Trump did back in 2017. And people are pointing this out like, oh, is this an elderly moment? What is going on? Did he forget? But I think it was referring to the, you know, the rerun that Powell had, right? Biden kept Jerome Powell in power, right? That's what I gotta explain it. I'm not defending Trump. I don't know. It's just likely the case because he's a smart guy anyway. But there's always, you know, this talk about can Donald Trump fire Jerome Powell? The answer on paper is no, he can't fire Jerome Powell. They're two separate entities, right? The government does not have any control over the Federal Reserve, which people are saying, like, well, why doesn't the government have control over the Federal Reserve? There's a conflict of interest, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, seems like they're finding some sort of a loophole to try to get him out. There was always there's always these insults coming from Trump to Jerome Powell to try to get him to resign, right? As a way of getting him out of office. Anyway. And Scott Bessent also says that there is a formal process to replace Fed Chair Powell that is underway. And there was also that other letter that I showed you guys from, what is this guy's name? Paul Baines, something like that. A letter created by himself and promoted by himself. That's why it didn't gain too much credibility, but something it mentioned about they were going to decide on firing Jerome Powell on Monday, which nothing came of that, unfortunately. So we don't know anything else apart from that. But you have a lot of congressmen explaining that, yep, Jerome Powell is going to be fired. Firing is imminent, says Anna Paulina Luna, congresswoman. And apparently also, Trump has drafted a letter to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. And firing this guy, it will be bullish for the markets if you were wondering. It will make the markets go up because the way the markets are seeing it is, okay, Powell is evil because he does not want to cut interest rates. And that's the only thing holding back from an explosive growth, because you cut those interest rates, the US dollar weakens and every other asset gets stronger. Borrowing becomes easier. It gets the money flowing, turns on the money printer, inflation can start again, and Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation, right? You would rather hold Bitcoin rather than, you know, holding money that just keeps on getting printed. And all that printed money that you have, I mean, it's going to incentivize you to spend. Oh, I suddenly have all this money in my bank account. What do I invest in? What do I buy? Should I buy a car? Should I buy a phone or whatever? But, you know, there's people who are like, oh, I'm going to be smart with my money. I'm going to invest. What's hot right now? Oh, Bitcoin's at all-time highs. I'm going to buy. That's how the retail mind thinks. I just closed my chart. So, yeah, that's the whole idea behind this. And no source confirmed, but just pointing this out, it's likely that he's going to be fired by Friday is what they're saying. But there's no real sauce behind this claim, so we don't know for sure. But anyway, that's the rumors for now. Okay, they're going to fire Jerome Powell. How are they going to do it? We don't necessarily know, unless they did find an actual loophole. So we'll see. I mentioned as well, it is crypto week. The House will soon vote on a tremendous bill that will make America the undisputed #1 leader in digital assets. Nobody does it better. The Genius Act is one of the acts that they're going to pass. It's going to put our great nation light years ahead of China, Europe, and all others who are trying to endlessly catch up, but they just can't do it. I don't think they are, by the way. A lot of regulation in Europe. China is completely banned crypto, but they still have like almost 200,000 Bitcoin, mainly due to seized assets. Mining is banned, but hey, maybe if they the idea is this. Maybe they see the United States starting to innovate into cryptocurrency and they'll want to do it too because China is this kind of thing that tries to copy the United States and everything, right? Cars, okay, now China's copying the cars. Oh, okay, technology, now China's trying to copy that. Applications, okay, now China's making their own versions of their applications. Um, AI, that's a big one. United States innovating on that, and then China's like, okay, well, we can do that, but we'll try to do it better and cheaper, right? Robots, things like that. And finally, of course, crypto. China will be like, maybe we should start getting into this crypto. And if they do, man, they got a lot of money. That's definitely going to boost markets as well. But in the meantime, of course, United States wants to be there first, kind of deal. Digital assets are the future. We are leading it by a lot. Get the first vote done this afternoon. All Republicans should vote yes. Spoiler alert, they didn't. This is our moment. Digital assets, genius, clarity, those are the three acts. It's all part of making America great again, bigger and better than ever before. We are leading the world and we will work hard with the Senate and the House to get even more legislation on this passed, is what they're saying. And like I said, the votes to proceed on crypto legislation, it just failed the House. Strange. And of course, Trump is furious, but here's some reasoning why, once again, Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, came up on this saying that she fully supports crypto, but she cannot get behind anything that allows for a backdoor to central bank digital currencies. There was a vote to allow legislation to come to the floor that would enable that to happen. Thus, I voted no, is what she says. Happy to support any pro-crypto bill, but she will not back CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which a lot of people agree with, but some other people are like, okay, well, why did you vote no, though, on a crypto bill, is what they're thinking. That explains the main reason why we had a drop in the price of Bitcoin yesterday, because one of those failed. All right, today is the second day, and I don't think it was this one. Yes, this is the one that happened today. The crypto bills passed procedural vote in the House. That is one part of it. And another one, the Genius Act, probably the more important one that has to do with stablecoins specifically. It will be passed tomorrow. And of course, Trump speaking to all of his representatives saying, okay, you guys better vote yes on this one. The 11 representatives who voted against the pro-crypto legislation have now agreed to vote in favor of advancing the bills. So he's kind of gave him a change of mindset on that. He also mentioned this, I guess, I'm in the Oval Office with 11 of the 12 congressmen and women necessary to pass the Genius Act. And after a short discussion, they have all agreed to vote tomorrow morning in favor of the rule. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was at the meeting via telephone, looks forward to taking the vote as early as possible. I want to thank the congressmen and women for their quick and positive response. Make America great again. Great. So there we go. Now, this is also something that has been a little bit concerning, but it's not all over the news yet. It hasn't really impacted the prices, I would say, or maybe it did. I don't know. And even if it did, hey, overall, it might be something bullish. So this is what was kind of discovered. U.S. Marshals revealed that the government now only holds 28,988 Bitcoins, which is worth $3.4 billion, when they're supposed to have an estimated 200,000 Bitcoins. So just imagine that, right? 200,000 Bitcoin is what the United States, that we know of, the amount of Bitcoins that they have, that we know of. That's what I meant to say. But now they have maybe 29,000. What happened to, 80% of the Bitcoins? Senator Cynthia Lummis came out and talked about this, saying that she's alarmed by reports that the U.S. has sold off over 80% of its Bitcoin reserve, leaving just 29,000 coins. If that is true, so it's not confirmed, but if it's true, this is a total strategic blunder and sets the United States back years in the Bitcoin race. Because that is true. I mean, I wouldn't blame the United States for taking profits. I mean, we are where we are, right? But selling that amount of Bitcoin, it's not going to have a huge impact on the price. It will have an impact, of course. It's 200,000 Bitcoins. But I mean, I did the calculation before selling off even 1 million Bitcoins. It only drops the price like, what was it before? Like 100 108,000 to 103,000, maybe $5,000 is what will be shaved off of Bitcoin. So realistically, 200,000 Bitcoins is like, I don't know, you do the math, but shouldn't have had too crazy of an impact. But what if they were silently selling off their Bitcoin is what people are concerned about. Isn't the United States supposed to be the crypto capital of the world? Aren't we signing all this legislation to make that happen? Isn't Trump pro crypto? Like, he's literally posting about it on Truth Social all the time, saying that we're going to be way ahead of China, way ahead of Europe. Europe. And now suddenly you're coming out with this supposed news that the U.S. government apparently sold off their Bitcoins. What does this letter say? Freedom of Information Act request. The United States Marshal Service, USMS, is responding to your Freedom of Information Act. The amount of Bitcoin held by the U.S. Marshal Service. They say over here, they reviewed the request, reasonably foreseeable the service held information would harm an agency. Well, it doesn't say anything about the 29,000 Bitcoins. But there's no evidence of sales that reduce it to 29,000 overall. And the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, which does exist, by the way, Donald Trump did sign that executive order into law. It strictly prohibits sales. And as a matter of fact, we were supposed to figure out ways on how to accumulate more Bitcoin for the United States government, but nothing came of that. I was suggesting when gold was at all-time highs and Bitcoin was at 74K, sell the gold, buy Bitcoin. Now's a great time. Nobody listened. That's fine. I'll throw my financial advice into the garbage, I guess. It was just a lucky call, honestly. I don't expect nothing big of that. But literally this, right? Gold reserves, if we have those, which we never checked if they're still at Fort Knox or not. Yeah, sell that stuff and buy Bitcoin, because that's the physical gold, right? It's probably going to be more valuable. It will be more valuable. And it just performs overall much better than gold. Sure, it's more volatile, but man up. That's assets. You're going to have to tolerate that volatility. And yeah, Bitcoin is just the ultimate asset, in my opinion. So this is not confirmed if it's true or not. It's probably not true. We also have, like, if you check on Arkham, the most powerful way to track wallets and also a very powerful exchange, it still shows that Bitcoin, it still shows that the US government holds 200,000 Bitcoin approximately. So it could be that this is just an overreaction. That's why, like I said, not even an overreaction. Nobody really reacted to this. The markets didn't care. They're pretty skeptical of this kind of news. So no big change has really happened in that sense. And of course, if the United States does sell their Bitcoins, they're going to miss out on a lot, just like what Cynthia Loomis said. Did you know Bulgaria sold, that's a crazy amount, 213,500 Bitcoins. So literally the amount that the United States has right now, for example. But they did this back in 2018. What was Bitcoin's price in 2018? Like, let me guess, $10,000, $6,000? Will I have to pull this up? I mean, depends on what time of 2018. 2017 was a good bull run, but then things dropped. Let me go to a TradingView chart. It might have been the 10,000 in 2017. I might be crazy. Do we have this enough data? I don't even have enough data. I'm going to have to go to Coinbase chart or something. BTC USD. Coinbase. Here we go. 2018. Yeah, $6,000 is where it was at roughly. And since then, of course, if they just held on to their Bitcoin from 2018, they could have made an additional $25 billion, which by today's standards is enough to wipe out the entire country's public debt, in Bulgaria specifically, not the United States. So, I mean, hey, you snooze, you lose, I guess. But now, similar deal is something that could happen with the United States. If the United States gets rid of their 200,000 Bitcoins, who knows, maybe in a couple of years, we could be wiping out that US deficit of, 35 trillion? We're raising that another 5 trillion, which Elon Musk hates to hear about, but hey, it's fine. More border security. $40 million worth of Ethereum shorts got liquidated in the past 60 minutes today. Not this current past 60 minutes, but around 10 a.m., right? And that explains the huge rise that we saw with Ethereum over here around 10, 8 to 12 a.m., right? All this whole rise over here was a lot of shorts getting liquidated, and this is something that I warned, right? We break one of those resistance levels, which it seems like it was the 3,183. Ethereum is the most shorted asset right now, and a lot of those shorts are going to be liquidated. I showed you those charts before, and it happened. So there we go. We're all the way up here that fast, 3,350 currently. Pudgy penguins are taking over the internet. Etherscan is doing it. OKX Wallet has one now. Gemini, they didn't change their profile picture, so they didn't do it right. But they might do it soon. I mean, the fact that they're posting a pudgy penguin on their profile, right? It's just, you know, and it's not even just crypto companies. It's even Carritos, the soda, Mexican soda drink company, this thing. They're also in on it. They changed their profile picture and everything. It's just everywhere now. There's no escaping the pudgy penguins. I actually want to check what they are at right now. Oh, they're dropping. Still above 31. Hey, that's not too bad, actually. I shorted it over here. I already took my profits, luckily. Although I could have taken a bit better profits, but, better than me having to swallow this whole 74% rise. I'm glad I was not a part of that. If I was in a short position. I should have went along, but I didn't know that everybody was going to suddenly start changing their profile picture to this darn penguin. So you never know. And last bit of news that I've got is the World Cup in 2026 will be in Toronto. I didn't know that. The tickets are apparently on sale, and the cheapest ones are at $2,500 for the worst seats. I don't think I will be attending one live then. All right. That's all I wanted to talk about. I am 41 minutes into my stream, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. That'll be all the topics I have to cover for today. Overall, like I said, just to recap, we might be accumulating liquidity like that before we head on our next leg up. I don't know if this is going to be a slow-paced kind of rise or a fast-paced one, like maybe it's just tonight that we dip and then tomorrow we rise again. I'd play it more safe. Like, I'd include the whole weekend worth of low volatility as well. It's probably the safest play, right? Saturday's typically low volatility day. I wouldn't like to see, a Saturday like suddenly up here and then, because that typically just leads to a drop, So I'd rather something like this to happen. We'll hold on to, Bitcoin maybe dropping a couple percentage points for the end of this week. I'm projecting too far ahead, aren't I? You never know, really. But that's kind of what I'm expecting. If we are to see anything, maybe a bit of a low drop. Will the crypto bills kind of bring volatility? I mean, not really. It's kind of already, priced in, I guess. I also want to check on Fed interest rate percentages. I'm pretty sure it's still the same deal, two rate cuts for this year. Just want to see what the percentages are looking like. 97% chance we don't get a rate cut. Next meeting in, oh my gosh, it's in September. A 59% chance we get a rate cut. If not, then by October for sure. We have an 89% chance. And, I mean, even by December, we don't even have a small percent chance that we'll get a third rate cut. It's just a high percent chance that we will just only have our second rate cut to 375 to 400 basis points. So not looking too good in terms of rate cuts. I mean, it's still fine. 2 rate cuts, that's overall a good thing. But, we're expecting more at some point during the year. What happened to that? It's the tariffs. It's because of the tariffs. They're scared of the tariffs. It's also because of Jerome Powell. So that's why Jerome Powell goes, Trump appoints a new pro-crypto person who is willing to listen to Trump and cut the rates at Trump's liking, disposal, request. You got the point. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. All right, that'll be all. Thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow with some more news. I also should be checking. I don't think there's anything else happening in economic calendar. We already got CPI, PPI. This is all useless stuff. Same with this. No feds will be speaking next week. What are we getting next week? Okay, Powell's speaking on Tuesday. That'll be important. See what that guy has to say. We've been talking about him a lot. We'll see what he has to respond to all of our claims. Nothing else really happening in Wednesday or Thursday. nor Friday. So low volatility week next week, except for Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. Bright and early this guy will be speaking. We'll see.